Hello, my creepy crawlies, and welcome to another episode of Ice Cream Queens, which should by now be your favorite late night snack of horror and pop culture fun. So let me bring in my incredibly awesome guests, hosts, co-hosts. I got this.
Hi.
Hey! So I have Kat and Lauren.
Hello.
How is everybody doing this evening?
We're good. Good. Happy to be here.
Lauren, where are you? We have no sound on Lauren.
Her mic's turned off.
You're muted, Lauren. Hang on. Mute. Can we unmute you?
I think she's out in the middle of between cell phone tower coverage.
Oh, no. So let me just go ahead. While Lauren's getting a...
I like the way these screens are like pausing on her face here.
Oh, I know.
They're fun.
I'm trying to figure out. You're muted. Muted.
I got that.
There it is.
You can hear me?
Yeah. You know, if you just say it louder and louder.
Oh, goodness.
So let me hey, what has everybody been doing since the world has opened back up again? Any plans? Have you done anything cool? I know that, Lauren, you're traveling. By the way, you're supposed to be bringing us our ice cream. Where are you? Where's my ice cream?
Yeah, we got lost. I'm so sorry. We were supposed to be on the way home by now. And yeah, the bridge has the crack in it, and there is no movement. Apparently there's like 2 wrecks right before you get onto the bridge, and it's just at a standstill. So we're going like somewhere to try and find another bridge. I don't even know where we're going. We're lost. We'll eventually make it home, though.
For those of you who don't know what Lauren is even referencing, so Memphis has this awesome M-shaped bridge that we refer to as the M Bridge. That's original. And we have found, there has been a crack found. They refer to it as a crack, but it's like a clean break, sever, and it's a miracle that our bridge has not collapsed. So, yeah. Redirecting traffic. You're now lost in Podunk, Tennessee, trying to get back home, correct?
Yep. Oh, I know we're in Arkansas now.
I was going to say, you're probably going north, I'm guessing, to try to cross somewhere else.
Yep. I think so. I'm not driving. So we're doing this for safety. I'm not driving.
That's good to know.
Bear with me. I'm trying to set up my microphone because evidently my microphone is not working right. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
I can hear you fine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I
hope y'all can hear me.
This is our day.
So we're just having a good cell phone.
This is our day right here. This is just, yeah. So if I sound like I'm in a bathroom, I'm so sorry. All right, so I have spent the weekend at a freaking Bigfoot festival.
All right.
I know. It was a lot of fun. We got to see Slash Squatch, exactly what it sounds like. Sasquatch in a top hat, playing guitar.
Like Slash, okay.
Like Slash. And Sasquatch, which is, if you haven't found Sasquatch yet, he is phenomenal. So Lauren, by the way, I'm going to throw out birthday roundup. Happy birthday to Lauren.
Yes, happy birthday. Yay.
Aw,
Happy birthday to Magda, who can't be with us this evening.
Aww.
And happy birthday to our special guest, Geek Gumshoe, which let's go ahead and bring him in real quick.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. Hi. Good evening.
How are y'all?
We are doing well.
Wow.
Sort of.
I also want to introduce our next special guest. I know I'm going to pop one super special guest in on you. It's the pink rubber chicken. So yeah,
That must have been one of your souvenirs from the weekend.
It totally was. I wanted a 2-foot. There's a 2-foot rubber chicken, which I wanted, and I could not get. Yeah, I couldn't get it. I was forbade to get it. So is that the right word? Forbade.
Forbade. I think it was forbidden.
Forbidden. Yeah.
Forbidden.
So. All right. So who's been doing cool stuff? Tell me what's going on. What are you doing, Lauren? You're obviously on the road. Where are you?
We're heading. Hey,
Coming
Tom,
from?
where are we?
We're heading north.
North
55.
on 55, trying to find an alternate route. I don't have ice cream, y'all, but I do have beef jerky and Reese's. So sorry.
They go good
That's the
together.
same thing, right?
That works. Yeah. Beef jerky and Reese's. I don't have ice cream either. Mm-hmm.
So
I don't
Lauren,
either.
Lauren, my advice to you on this trip is don't stop at any old rundown houses to ask for directions.
No.
Okay.
No.
I've seen that movie. I know how it ends.
To ask for directions. We just need to find like an old gas station with no lights on.
With like a barbecue place inside.
Yeah.
And if you happen to see somebody standing on the side of the road with a chainsaw and beer, pick him up. That's like
Because there's beer.
Yeah, beer.
Sounds pretty solid.
Yeah.
Good plan.
So, now,
Oh, there goes one now.
should I call you the geek? What should we call you?
D.
D? Okay, so D, tell us a little bit about who are you? Why are you here? Why do we know you? What's going on here?
Well, each person in this little quad here, I have shot pictures of at some point along the way. Some of you more than others, but they've all been subject to my photography. I am a 25-year law enforcement veteran, and I spent the last 15 as a detective. I work everything from like basic vandalism cases on up to homicides. My specialty fields are in cybercrime, child exploitation, and digital forensics.
I'm going to make a face at that. Just the whole child exploitation just is.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of those fields that nobody wants to talk about, but unfortunately, we have to have that.
So I'm going to ask you, any cool things you've done this weekend? I kind of already know, but go ahead. Anything cool?
Well, I mean, of course, the Bigfoot Festival in Townsend. Yeah, that was kind of the course of the weekend, and shot a bunch of video of all the people there at the festival, and that's going to be the episode of Geek Gumshoe that's going to drop in the morning if I can get it all uploaded and ready to go tonight, because I have been editing and getting it ready since we got home this afternoon. So we drove all the way from Townsend, Tennessee back here, and then I immediately jumped on the computer and started editing to get the show ready so it can drop in the morning. So
And then
let's hope.
And then jumped on here
to wrangle y'all.
Yeah, to wrangle us.
So
Like
I have to
horse
interrupt real quick and just say the Geek Gumshoe show is like me and my husband's favorite. We've made a deal because I watched the first one without him and he got mad at me, and he watched the next one without me and I got mad at him. So now we can't watch it until we're together because we both want to.
Hey, I don't want to be the cause of anybody's divorce. We can't have that. But thank you. I'm having a lot of fun doing the shows, and it's finding its footing a little bit at a time, and hopefully it'll be one of those things that people will really jump into and maybe start throwing me some hints here and there about things that I can do. I mean, the hardest part of the show is finding next week's case file. It's a constant working at it, trying to get everything ready and then get the show shot toward the end of the week, get it edited and get it up on Sunday night so that Johnny can drop it for our Patreon supporters, and then have it ready to go Monday morning at 8:00 so that everybody can watch it with their coffee. So it's a chore, but it's fun. I'm loving it.
Good.
I'm gonna have to agree with Lauren. It is it is my favorite. It is really good.
Thank you.
It is.
Hey, I'm seeing comments already. So Carlin Stewart is asking, how did I miss a Bigfoot festival? Well, it was near Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It was as hot as Bigfoot's balls, and it was, but it was a lot of fun. And one of my new favorite performers who is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Sasquatch. If you haven't heard of Sasquatch, and it's exactly what it sounds like, it is a guy playing a saxophone dressed in a Sasquatch outfit. It is the most glorious thing I think I have ever seen.
He plays a mean version of Careless Whisper, we'll say that.
Oh my God.
Oh,
For sure.
Okay, so Eli Cash, Geek Gumshoe is the crazy old guy from horror films you should listen to. Definitely.
Don't go up there to that camp. That's me. I'm the guy on the bicycle in Friday the 13th.
So yesterday was World Goth Day, and I didn't really get to celebrate World Goth Day because I was in full pinup attire because I had to wear shorts. It was hot. It was so hot. But so did anybody do anything cool for World Goth Day? Lauren, I'm looking at you.
I was out of town at Stillwater, Oklahoma to go visit a stranger I met on the internet at a state I've never been to. I made friends with someone. I made friends with someone on TikTok, and I went to go visit her and her caretaker.
Look, there's a whole TV show about it.
I'm sorry. But yeah, we went to go visit Allie Wheels. She
telling your mom.
is a really good TikToker. She's big into horror, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to go all gothed up the entire day in Oklahoma. So,
perfect.
Extra fun there.
Did people stare?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Well, then I wore my my black and white striped outfit. So every single thing, the hat, the glasses, the shirt, the socks, the pants, a skirt, like all of it. So I looked like Beetlejuice walking through there.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So, Kat, did you do anything for World Goth Day?
Well, I wore all black, but it wasn't in like any kind of attire as far as pinup or anything. I stayed in a cabin by the lake in Lake Francis over in Crossville, Tennessee. So I was definitely having a horror movie moment there. But I did wear all black, but I don't know if that was, I didn't really honestly realize it was World Goth Day. So, it just, every day is,
just
as far as I'm concerned. It's just another day is right. So, no, but I was out in the woods, and I was actually kind of close to where you guys were, and I was thinking about Bigfoots while I was out there, but yeah. No sightings, of course, no sightings of that.
That's because they were all at the festival. That's right. Like, straight up. What do? You come to Bigfoot goes to a festival. It's all about him.
That's right.
I wore this morning and went to like a small cafe in Townsend, Tennessee, and I got all the stares and was waving at little old women. So this is as close as I have got to World Goth Day. But
I guarantee you somebody that town has their token goth too. So while they're staring at you, and there's another lady there.
I think we saw her. I think she was at the Bigfoot Festival.
Yeah, I agree. So I found out something, and actually Geek Gumshoe the big D, was telling me about this. So okay, so I'm a con girl. I know Lauren's a con girl, but hi, Sawyer.
Hi, Sawyer.
So has anybody ever heard of Crime Con?
No.
D, tell us about Crime Con, because I am dying to go now.
So Crime Con is exactly what you think when you hear it. It's a convention that centers around true crime. It features true crime writers, detectives that are doing presentations on their cases, of course, vendor floors and all that kind of stuff. But it's like a weekend of all of your favorite serial killers and crime writers and documentarians and all that. So also they've recently started the crime cruise as well, in case you want to be stuck on a cruise ship with people that are thinking about murder.
I'm good with that. I think we could do that.
That sounds extra fun.
Can we do that? How much? I'm serious. I'm curious. How much does that cost? I'm just curious.
I mean, I didn't see a price on this one, but I've looked at, Kiss has their own cruise where they bring a bunch of bands and stuff, and several other bands have that, and it usually runs a couple grand per person for like a 3-day cruise. And it's 100% based on the entertainment that they're providing and the niche value of it.
So I'm just curious. What in the world? Now, those of us who have been to cons, Sawyer wants to go to Crime Con. Can we like get a group together and
Yeah,
go?
let's just all load in the car and we'll throw some people in the trunk and see how they fare on the way down.
What's on the vendor floor? I mean, think about it. What do you put on a vendor floor at Crime Con?
Chop saws, trash bags,
Axes.
I think maybe like the duct tape company and what's the slap-on tape thing?
Trash
anything.
bag.
Yeah, anything to be able to bind or dispose of people will probably be on that vendor floor.
Chloroform.
That sounds like fun.
No, Kat, that's actually one of the breakout sessions, learning how to make chloroform. It's a do-it-yourself thing.
Hey, on a
So
same
you
note,
take a demonstrator.
yeah. I have heard that LAPD actually has a gift shop and you can buy body bags. Who wants to buy a body bag?
You're going to use it as your luggage. Use it as your luggage when you travel.
I know.
Taking it to the airport.
Or like if you're
Uncle Nick Nack's summer wardrobe. Uncle Nick Nack's winter wardrobe.
Uncle Nick.
If you're at a sleepover, break it out and use it as a sleeping bag. Yeah.
Okay, so I know we have a topic. Hey, what's our topic, by the way? Do we have a topic?
Is there a topic?
Can we make one up?
I thought we were just going to wing it.
I kind of feel that way. No, seriously, do we have a
Speaking of
topic?
true crime.
So when I was when y'all sent over the check to pay me to be here tonight, the little memo thing said we're talking about true crimes that inspired fictional retellings. So
Yes.
So we're making this crap up as we go, in other words.
yeah, but essentially.
Okay, all right.
I mean, Hollywood does it all the time. Why not? Let's go.
Eli Cash, LAPD selling body bags. Do they have an online store?
Yes.
Please say yes.
They
Yes, Eli, they have an online store. Junk in the trunk. That's just all right. I'm feeling like these comments are going to be like golden tonight. But
It seems that way.
so, Lauren, what did you read, watch, look at? What was your interest this week for this topic?
So I watched The Girl Next Door, which is a movie that was based off of a book that was based off of a true crime story. It's pretty close to the actual story of what happened. They just changed a few different things. Like instead of it being a lady that they just happened to come across that was, holding the girls, it was they made it into an aunt in the movie just to make the storyline make a little more sense. The general premise is under the true story. There was a mom and dad. They worked in a carnival. They were carnival workers, carnies, and they had 2 sons and 2 daughters. The 2 sons worked at the carnival with them in the circus, and the 2 daughters did not. And so the mom ended up getting really hurt or really sick. She couldn't work anymore, and the dad was kind of struggling on how to keep up with the girls, and he wanted them to have as normal of a life as they could. So he happened across this lady. She had like 7 kids, and she was like, "Oh, well, you can just drop the girls off here. They can live with me. You can pay me $25 a month or a week or whatever it was, and I'll watch them." And so he's like, "Oh, that's great. She sounds like a great lady. She was recommended by 2 mutual friends." He was very excited that the girls would have like a home and a normal life. It worked for a while until he missed a payment. And the lady who was watching the girls started kind of taking all of her aggressions on that out on the older daughter. there's a lot of trigger warnings in this. It ended up being this poor girl was tortured not only by the mother of the household, but by her children, by the neighborhood children. They would like just have kids coming in off the street paying like a few quarters or just watching other people beat this poor girl like she was a punching bag. So much torture. There she is. That's the actual girl there. I cannot remember. All of my notes are at home and I'm stuck on the road, so I'm so sorry.
Sylvia Lycan. Sylvia Lycan.
Thank you. She ended up just one of the worst stories you can think of. She had things carved into her. She had cigarettes put out on her. At one point, they locked her in the basement and tied her up at nightly and just kept her there, and everyone got to beat on her down there. She one day made it up to the top of the stairs trying to escape, and they caught her, and it just got worse and worse from there. When she died down there, they thought that she was faking it. They just kept beating her until eventually they figured out, oh, well, she is dead. Okay, well, call the police and say that she ran away. We just found her in this condition. And luckily, the lady was caught. It all came to light. Yeah, there she is. That's the original.
Is that her son in the background?
Yep, that's her son behind her. He also got charged a whole bunch of stuff. But the movie was based off of that, not even loosely, just like really directly based off of that. Yeah, there it is. The Girl Next Door. The only major differences were, instead of it being a random lady, like I said, they made it the aunt to make the story make a little more sense, or at least a little more relatable, I think, to people just watching it. Because, I don't know, I think a lot of people wouldn't even dream of, oh, I'm just going to leave my 2 daughters with this random person I don't know. But, I mean, back in the day, if it was the best thing that they could think of or they could do for the children, they did what they could. So that's what I ended up reading and watching and going through.
I remember actually reading some information on this case in particular, and it was a situation where I think that the mother thought that she was doing the best thing for her children because of financial situations, and so she ended up leaving her with this person that was referenced as being reputable, and it just went to hell in a handbasket very quick. That is a sad story.
Yeah, researching it and reading through all of the things that happened, like it got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to take a break. I need to go watch something happy Disney for a little bit, and I'll come back and read more of it. Because I did go through like all of the different wounds that they had found and the report from the police and all that, and it was difficult to read, but a lot of that is extra trigger warning, and also we have a guest who probably has much cooler stories than me.
I've heard that her abdominal wounds were like, they were actually talking about, I saw an article where they were talking about her abdominal wounds, and they were very gruesome and in relation to the rest of her injuries. So
yes, the abdominal wounds. Yeah, she had things carved into her words. I think it was calling her a whore or things like that.
The stuff that only horror movies can create obviously comes from real life. So
that's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. So, Kat, what was your choice of research this weekend or this?
Well, since I knew I was going into a cabin into the woods, I kind of wanted to dive into the story of the Bell Witch a little bit. And there are so many spin-offs, it seems, of this story. However, the Bell family, I don't believe everything that is published out there is all hearsay, and none of the people that were actually involved in this haunting ever wanted it to go out and be out there in the public. It was looked down upon to have, something supernatural happening to the family. So they waited until, yes, there we are, Adams, Tennessee. So they waited until the last of the grandchildren passed away, or not the grandchildren, I'm sorry, the children that were alive during this incident all passed away before anybody was allowed to let any of the stories out or any type of information out about it. But I read, it's like there's so many books that are out about it, but they're all fictional, so you can't really say it's nonfiction, but they do have historical facts. Like there's the American Haunting, and then I do know like there's I want to say like the Blair Witch Project might have been something that was inspired by it. I never went to go see that because I get motion sick, and at the time I remember it was like the late 90s when it came out, and everybody was just, is it real? Is it not real? Oh my God, it's real. So it was more like a shock factor back then. So, but there was a couple things in the story that I do think that historically people said that Andrew Jackson, he did go and spend the night at the our seventh president, before he was the president, he did go spend the night at the Bell's house, and he stated that he would rather fight the entire British Army than spend another night in that Bell house. So people have seen in photographs a woman, or I shouldn't say a woman, it's like a young girl with long dark hair in a green dress, was one of the first sightings by Betsy Bell, who was the first who started kind of to encounter the spirit along with John Bell. But also to this day, the Bells, like, I think they have mentioned something about this girl with the long dark hair, because Betsy didn't have dark hair, she had blondish hair. But there's something that still shows up in photographs that does possibly still follow around the family or the property of sorts. I don't want to go there and go dig in. Like, you don't want to open Pandora's box, because from the accounts people have said, it's more like a demon, not a witch. And then I don't really understand how the cave, like I want to go there just to see how the cave plays into how that ties into the house. But they say if people take a rock out of the cave, that stuff follows them home. Yeah, that's a house that where the spirits started tapping on the outside of the house before they made their way, or it made its way in, I should say. So
I have been dying to go do the Lauren. I just saw her like completely like, okay. So I have been dying to do the tour of the cave. But yes, I'm with you. I have heard a lot of people say they bring things home after. It's like you can't take anything out of the cave, and things will follow you home from like the Bell Witch tours and stuff like that. I'm imagining that's if you believe in it, and depending on, I guess, what you take.
Yeah, and they don't know, and like they said, he thought it was something to do with the neighbor had a rift with him, so they think possibly she was the one who unleashed the demon. But then when you start reading these fictional things, it was possibly Betsy who released it to her father. So there's a lot. I mean, there's just a lot in that story that it's hard to say. Even the real family are like, it's all hearsay. We don't really actually know the truth. So.
And I know that An American Haunting was actually based on that story, and they referenced Betsy and the Bell family, and that was a pretty decent movie that kind of, I think a lot of horror movies start off good and then just kind of go off the rails.
It really got lost, and it was showing just a lot of her like looked like epileptic type, fits and stuff. But the books dive in a little more so than the movies. Especially that one.
So my topic, I am a huge Amityville fan. I love Amityville horror. I have been following pretty much all of my life. I do believe that was probably the first horror book I ever read. And so I started reading, and I haven't gotten too far in it. It's Mentally Ill in Amityville. And this is a good story, and it really talks a lot about the DeFeos, and specifically Ronald Jr., Butch DeFeo, and his situation, and what really created a perfect storm for that murder. You know, Amityville is one of those cases that a lot of people, they know the story in association with the Lutz, but they don't know the real murders and the true crime that kickstarted that all. So Ronald DeFeo, who was 23 at the time, killed his entire family and claimed that he heard voices, and they were demonic voices that ordered him to do so. And there has been a lot of speculation about whether or not he heard voices, if it was premeditated, and, you know, kind of what the situation there was. Now, with reading this, now I want to tell you right off the start, it's been a hard read. I have only gotten like probably through the first chapter or so, but it's a lot of information that's being relayed in reference to the case, and it's very detailed, but sometimes it's not put together in a way that you necessarily understand it. But it is a pretty interesting book.
Okay.
One of the things that I thought was interesting that they talked about was his relationship with his father and some of the things that he was involved in. Now, he was a heavy drug user. They referenced, the book referenced, and affidavits referenced that he was a heroin user. And then 6 days prior to the murder, he was accused of stealing like $21,000 from his grandfather's Buick dealership, which he worked at, which I think may have been the catalyst for why he killed his family. And the affidavits in this book also talk a lot about things that he did that I feel that were designed to establish alibis, such as visiting his girlfriend and having a date with her, and then calling the house going, "Nobody's answering the phone, I'm so worried." But this is, I feel like Amityville is one of those true crime situations that led into, I guess, almost a media frenzy, created all kinds of detail, or all kinds of movies and books and stuff. Because, I mean, Amityville is a franchise now that has so many movies. It's been rebooted, and yeah, it's been interesting. So what's your thoughts on that?
On Amityville?
When we were talking about some of the aspects of the stuff leading up to the crime, when D'Elle was telling me about the incident with what it was he was responsible for taking the daily deposit to the bank, and it contained a bunch of cash and a bunch of checks. So Ronnie and a friend, or I don't remember if it was a relative or a friend, took the money and then came back claiming that they had been robbed at gunpoint while they were sitting at a stoplight. And the family automatically, red flags went up. They were like, "Oh, I don't know about that." And my guess, I mean, the fact that it happened 6 days before the murders, my guess is that is 100% what those murders were about. He was living with his dad. His dad was abusive and mean, and I can guarantee you that for the 6 days in between that robbery, in quotes, and the murders, Dad was saying, "I'm not going to bail you out this time. They're going to take you to jail. As soon as they figure out you did that, I'm going to let you go to jail." And Ronnie just probably had all he could take of that. And then decided, if it's up to you trying to send me to jail, then we're just going to go ahead and take care of this right now. And I think that was really the catalyst that drove the whole thing.
It was interesting because you referenced that his dad bailed him out, and that was one of the things that I was reading through this book, is that every time that there was an issue, and there were lots of issues. I mean, the author wanted to paint not only Ronald Sr. or Big Ronnie in a negative light, but he really painted Ronnie Jr. in the negative light. And I'm going to kind of refer to my notes on this, but he was kicked out of school at the age of in 8th grade. 8th grade, and he was sent to like a prep school to straighten him out. And then he got kicked out of the prep school for being violent. And then he was sent to Amityville High School. He was already visiting a psychiatrist, which we were trying to determine if his name was Fried or Freed. But it was like, I really want him to be named Dr. Fried because, you know, Fried in the head. But, you know, he was visiting a therapist at 16 in which he, at some points, kind of stopped going to. His dad wanted to send him to the military, but his grandfather stepped in and paid like $5,000 to have a psych eval adjusted so it would read that he was crazy and couldn't go. And there was just so much. And one of the other things that I find very interesting with this case is that although his sister Dawn was a murder victim, his sister Dawn is actually painted in a light that she may have been involved and possibly even encouraged. She was 18 at the time, and she really, really wanted to move to Florida to be with her boyfriend. And if you've ever dealt with an 18-year-old girl who thinks she's in love, you know, her parents were saying, no, you're not going to go to Florida. And she was like, I hate you, Mom and Dad. I'm going to Florida. I want to go to Florida. And so there was some hostility there. And I know that at one point she became kind of a person of interest, although, you know, obviously post-mortem, but she was possibly a person of interest. But, you know, Ronnie had this history of drug use, and his parents had kind of bailed him out all of his life. Now, truthfully, his dad seemed like a pure a-hole, and, you know, was abusive to his mother and everything else. So, but...
and that pattern continues. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did at one point Ronnie did go get a shotgun and tell his dad that he was going to kill him. So
prior to the murders,
it's not out of character.
Okay.
So
he could have been.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say he could have been high at the time too. The drugs.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he was on heroin and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I have to ask, if your child shows up in your living room, and, you know, we're just going to assume that he was between 20 and 23 and threatens you with a shotgun and says, I'm going to kill you. Do you allow him to stay? Do you throw him out and say, you're pretty much on your own?
I think Lauren's got something to say.
Get out.
Deuces.
I don't think I could allow my child. I mean, as much as I love my children, if you flash a shotgun at me, you're out. And it's interesting because in reading this, you realize that there's a lot of reference to the family having issues and the parents being bad news and the kids being bad news. But, you know, yeah, it's like at some point you also have to look at it and say, you know, your family was giving you loads of cash to go blow.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, you were allowed
supporting your drug habit. Yep.
Yeah, you were allowed to buy a shotgun and threaten you, and they didn't throw you out of the house. So, I mean, yeah, how awful were they? How it's like never condone, you know, violence against women or anything of that nature. But, you know, at what point does all of that become hearsay? So,
yeah.
We do have a audience participation question, and I know that we're probably about 40 minutes in. Have you ever known someone who was involved in nationally recognized crime? If you do, please leave it in the comments because we want to know if you or someone you know has been involved in a nationally recognized crime.
I was.
What?
Okay. I actually, I worked a few years ago. I worked on a homicide case that resulted in 2 true crime TV shows. Dateline NBC did an episode, and I was actually on that. In fact, I wasn't interviewed or anything, but I was in the bump footage. You know, like whenever they go to a commercial and come in from a commercial, a lot of times they'll show like the same piece of footage. I was that footage. I was out leading a group of reserve officers on a search for the body, and there's like this great shot of me like pointing off into the distance or something. They really like that shot for some reason.
Action shot, yeah.
Exactly. It's like, George Washington leading the crossing of the Delaware or something. And so I was on that. And then Web of Lies also did the same case, but we didn't participate in that one. Apparently we got enough of it from the one. And Web of Lies did this really weird twist on the story to kind of make it fit with, the whole, I don't know if you've ever seen Web of Lies, but it's about internet related crimes. And there was very little of this that had anything to do with the internet, but they found a way to like squeeze it all in and make it into an hour episode. So, but that's my my brush with greatness there, is being on as the bumper video in Dateline NBC.
Oh, that's kind of cool, kind of awesome.
Yep,
So
that was fun.
My mom met a serial killer once. That's about all I got on that.
Oh, okay. Oh, who?
Wait. Back up.
Clown killer.
Yep.
Do what?
John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah, my mom was like starting a brand new job. She was pregnant with my older sister, and
Really?
And
You
now
froze
she's
up
gonna
now?
freeze up.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Okay,
he was
go
like
on.
building shelves, and I think it was at a pharmacy or something like that. He was building shelves there.
Yeah, he was a
And so
contractor.
yeah, she met him like one day, her first day there, and it was his last day or something like that.
What did she
Interesting.
think of him? What was her thoughts on him? Did like anything trigger her as this guy's a weirdo, or?
Oh, I'm freezing.
Oh,
I
come
don't
on,
think
Lauren.
so. I think it was just one of those like it came on the news later, and she was like, "Oh, that's that guy."
So she remembered him, though. She remembered the guy. Then he did something to make her remember him. Out of all the people you encounter every day.
What would really be interesting is to find out. What would really be interesting is to find out if one of his victims might have been with him, because he actually would hire young boys to do contract jobs with him and then later kill them. So if he had an assistant that day working with him, I'd be curious as to whether that might have ended up being one of his victims.
I will ask her.
That would be trippy
Yeah,
to
you
find
should.
out.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll talk about my thing, huh?
Please do.
Yes,
All right, so
please.
If we have time, I've got two things I want to talk about. The first I'm going to talk about is I watched the movie Borderland. And honestly, I'm surprised it took me as long as it did to get around to watching this. This came out in like 2014, 2015, something like that. And Borderland is the story of a group of kids that, I say kids, they're grad students that are on spring break down in South Texas, and they decide to cross the border into a Mexican border town so that they can go hook up with some hookers and get some dope and get drunk and, have all kinds of fun before they all go in their separate direction. Yeah, it's always a good plan, right?
I know, hookers are always a good thing, right?
Always solid plan. Always.
Gotta go get that.
South of the border hookers and tequila.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Party.
So they go over the border, and it ends up they all separate, and one of them gets abducted by members of this cartel cult, and essentially what is they're using a dark religion called Palomayombe to further their enterprises. And I'm not going to go too much into the direction. So I will say this: it was a very well shot movie. The overall look of it, I really liked. It was done in the teal and orange that's so popular now, and the really milky filtering and all that kind of stuff. The acting left a little bit to be desired. It had a few famous people like Ryder Strong is in it. Who's the kid played Samwise in Lord of the Rings? Yeah.
Oh my God, he was in
He was in Stranger Things. I cannot think of his name. Anyway, he basically.
I know who you're talking about.
Did y'all see 50 First Dates?
Yes, I love that movie.
Drew Barrymore's brother. So it's the same actor.
Okay.
And So he plays a character in this movie that is like Drew Barrymore's brother in 50 First Dates if he went completely off his nut and just became a bad guy and was crazy. You know, he's
The
that guy
Goonies.
yeah,
Yes, hold
Sean
on.
Astin. Sean Astin.
Yes, okay, I love him. Yes.
So his character is that guy that like wants to be tough, but he's too dumb to even be convincing he's tough. And it's the same character that, you know, he's done in a couple of movies now. But so anyway, he's in the movie. But now I'll tell you this. There was one acting job in that movie that really, to me, was worth the price of admission. The movie starts out, there's two Mexican cops that are trying to find evidence on this cartel. And they're going in this house, and they end up getting jumped by cartel members that they take one of the guys, they tie him into a chair, and they torture him. And this dude, the actor that played this part, was so convincing that I found myself wondering if I was watching some kind of snuff film. You know, it's one thing to portray being scared, or one thing to portray being in agony. This guy would make you believe that there was actually a dude removing his eyes with the tip of a machete while he was awake and alive.
Was that a scene? Was that a scene?
That was the scene, and it is gut churning, not for the visuals, but for his screams. I mean, it was that effective.
So you think it's that real?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like anything with eyeballs anyway, so that would bother me immensely. But
so
sorry.
Well, with that being said, we'll talk a little bit about the case that inspired that. Now, so back in 1989, a grad student named Mark Kilroy went to spring break in South Texas with some of his friends. They crossed the border into Matamoros, Mexico, and the friends came back, but Mark did not. They got separated trying to come back across the border, and the way the border walkway is set up there, it's hard to stay in a group, especially with as many people as come and go. So they got separated, and when his friends got home, they started realizing Mark didn't make it back. And then when he still didn't come back after a little while, they called his parents and said, hey, look, we went down to Mexico. Mark didn't come back. Just so happens Mark has a family member who works for like customs or something like that. And he started pulling strings, getting the feds involved in it, and getting some people to, you know, go and check in Mexico and see if they could find him. The friends all went down there and tried to look for him. And let me switch some things. There we go. So the friends went down, started looking around for him, couldn't find him, and ended up coming back. And, you know, so a month goes by, and Mexican authorities are doing a roadblock. They're trying to catch drug traffickers in this area. And they're sitting there watching these cars come, and all of a sudden this truck goes racing by the roadblock and doesn't stop, doesn't even slow down. He just goes hauling on by. Well, they were very smart about it. They got into an unmarked vehicle and followed this guy from a distance, and they follow him to this little ranch in Matamoros. And so they kind of fall back. They watch for a little bit and see what's going on. And they end up arresting a few of the guys that were at the ranch. And they take them back. They start questioning them, and they start talking about this guy, this drug kingpin. Let me find his name. Alfonso Constanzo is a drug kingpin who is a Palo Mayombe high-ranking priest. And he achieved his position by using his religious influence to basically create a power for his people so that they could operate right under the noses of the federales, and that they wouldn't notice them there. They convinced themselves that they were invisible. And the way to achieve this invisibility was through torture of their enemies. They would capture like rival gang members, bring them back, and they would torture them. And it was believed that their screams would feed the Loa, or the god that they were worshiping, and he would grant them invisibility from the police. So this guy that raced past the roadblock, he wasn't trying to get away with anything. He just didn't think they could see him. He just drove right by. So
wow.
well, yeah. I mean, now one
Wow.
of the things, a lot of people hear about stuff like that and they're like, what kind of crazy person is this? But, the thing about it is, an instructor once told me something that really hit home. When it comes to dealing with people in groups like this, he said, it's not what you believe that counts. It's what he believes.
Yep.
If that guy believes he's bulletproof, he's going to make you put bullets in him to stop him because he doesn't think that he can be stopped. And in this case, they thought they were invisible. So they bring one of the guys to the ranch and they tell him, hey, look, this Kilroy kid was here.
And we can see you.
He was brought here.
And we can see you. Yes.
We can see you now.
Your truck was real, by the way.
You're not Wonder Woman in the invisible jet. Your truck is bright red, and it's
no invisibility cloak over that.
Right. But it didn't take these people any time at all to roll over on this Constanzo guy. So the police took these guys back to the ranch, and in something that in America is completely unheard of. They made these guys dig up the bodies themselves. They gave them shovels. They put them out in the field because there was like an animal pen that they would put the bodies in. And so one of the guys takes them over. He tells them that Kilroy was there, that they killed him with a machete. They cut off the back of his head.
Wait a minute.
What?
Kilroy?
Mark Kilroy.
Kilroy, like
that was the kid's name.
Mark Kilroy, this guy.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking, don't you? Kilroy.
No,
Kilroy.
It's not a Styx song.
Okay.
So
sorry, my bad.
They tell him, Mark Kilroy was here. They killed him. They cut off the back of his head with a machete. They took his brain out and put it in a ganga, which is a sacrificial pot that they put body parts and coins and iron and stuff like that into in order to appease the Loa. And
is that along the lines of like a cauldron?
Yeah, it's basically a big cauldron with a bunch of body parts and stuff in it. So they did recover. Yeah. They recovered the Nganga. It was in this little shed out back, and you can imagine how this little shed smelled sitting in the Mexican heat with this pot full of body parts in it. So there's pictures that are online where they dragged it out into the open so that they could work the scene without getting sick. But so this guy goes, the boy's buried over here. They chopped off his legs at the knees just because it makes him easy to bury. And they took a wire and ran it through his spinal cord. And when they found the body, the guy took him over and he showed him where the wire was sticking up out of the ground. And the reason for that was that once the body began to decompose, they would just grab that wire and pull his spinal cord out and make it jewelry. And that's one thing that they didn't do in the movie. They didn't show any of that. They didn't talk about that. But the movie surprisingly stuck very close to most of the storyline of Mark Kilroy's murder. But of course, the last act, the other characters in the movie kind of rally up and they're going to go try to save their friend. And they go in, there's this big, battle with the cartel members and stuff, which didn't happen here, because the way Mark Kilroy's story ended is, of course, they recovered his body. They recovered, I think, 15 other bodies from that scene. And the police went looking for Constanza, and they found him in a apartment in Mexico City. And there was this gun battle. I mean, it was straight up 1980s Miami Vice style gun battle. They're out there with Uzis and stuff and just shooting into the windows in this apartment building, and his people are shooting back. And when he realized that he was going to be caught, Constanza had one of his people shoot him with a machine gun and kill him. So he never did stand trial. I think there were maybe 3 people that actually stood trial for all the atrocities that happened out of that thing. But the class that I was in with the instructor that I was telling you about that made the comment about what people believe, there was a detective that was there from South Texas. And he actually brought a cassette tape, like a VHS cassette tape of the crime scene at the ranch where they were digging the bodies up. They were out there with a backhoe pulling dirt off, and they were like going in with shovels and digging these bodies up and stuff. So I actually have a copy of that at my house. We're not going to play it here. That would be a little much, I think. But So yeah, the Borderlands movie, it's a good telling of the story, and of course, at the end, it kind of goes off the rails, and it's a totally different thing. But that was one of those cases that early on in my career kind of impacted me, and it kind of stuck with me for all these years. So when I found out that they had made a movie from it, I really wanted to see it, and it just kind of went under the radar. And then I finally decided when it came time to do this show, I was going to go ahead and dig it up and do that. So I did that last week.
Did you feel like the movie represented the case? I know you said it kind of went off the rails at the end, but the rest of it, do you feel like it was a good representation of the case as you know it?
Up to a point, yeah. Of course, they changed all the names and they changed some of the backgrounds of the characters. One of the main characters was this raving bigot, and he kept spouting off every cliche line that they could make him spout off. And you figure, when he dies in the movie, he's going to get his comeuppance. It's going to be this glorious moment where this racist dies. And to be honest with you, it was really kind of anticlimactic because he had a little bit of a redemption moment right before he was killed. So it's like, why did we have to spend all this time making him out to be this person? And then, we just done.
Yeah.
So to kind of diffuse from that, I really want to say something that we're going to be doing in the future is called out of context theater. Can I just, because I'm like really icked out by the bones and the spinal cord and I'm like, that was making me very ill. So I'm like, you're happy Disney, happy Disney. So out of context theater, anybody have anything that was said that taken out of context might have been very interesting or fun?
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay. I actually, I told my child to, what was the phrase? Stop telling me to drown my chicken. Okay, that's all I got. All right.
Is it like the haiku thing again?
I don't know. Okay, so that is good. I understand you have another one.
I do, and this one I kind of want to play a game with you guys. When you figure out the movie that I'm talking about, I want you to kind of raise your hand just to indicate that you've figured it out. Okay. So we're gonna start with another case out of the 80s. Let me find the picture here. Okay, so
we like pictures.
Yeah, I like to communicate in a language that everybody can understand.
Yes.
All right, so this case takes place in 1990. A guy named Dennis DePue, who is this dude right here. All right, so
he looks lovely.
They both look frightening.
I'm stuck on both of them.
Go back.
Are you sure that's not one of those awkward family photos? Like, I don't want to say anything ugly.
That feels like what are the funky teeth? You know what I'm talking about? Like the
Bubba teeth.
Oh my God, they have Bubba teeth.
Men in Black. Men in Black when the dude takes over and wears the meat suit.
It's Meat Suit Bubba. What's his name, Bubba? What's his name?
Right, so you hear about cases that have inspired movies. A lot of people think about guys like Ed Gein, who inspired Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs, Psycho. You look at Ed Gein and you're like, okay, I can see that. This guy has this written all over him. But Dennis DePue just, he looks crazy, but he looks more like that weird uncle that you don't like dropping your kids off with.
Men in Black.
You don't want to, more like you don't drop your kids off with.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the one you don't want to drop your kids off. So one night,
I don't want to go see Uncle Dennis anymore. He has weird teeth and wants to bite me.
So Dennis and his wife are in an argument down in the basement, and so Dennis shoots his wife. And the kids are all at home. They're upstairs and they're freaking out, like, what's going on? Dennis comes up. He's carrying Mama up the stairs. And he tells the kids, look, your mom's hurt. I'm going to take her to the hospital. And the kids are all crying.
A little more than that. Yeah.
So
Mom's dead.
Dennis he puts Mama in the car, and he drives off, and they don't make it to the hospital, of course, because Dennis has no intention of taking Mama to the hospital. She's all wrapped up in a sheet, and there's blood all over the sheet and stuff. So
He's going out for pizza instead.
good chance of that.
He's in a
So
body.
Dennis takes Mama over to a neighborhood school, goes in the back, and there's like an animal den in the ground, and he takes her and he shoves her into the animal den to get rid of her. And it just so happens that at the same time he's doing this, now this is on Easter Sunday when this happens, it's broad daylight. There is a couple driving down the street that look over, and they see Dennis getting rid of his old lady. And so
Small town, man. Small town.
I know.
D'Elle's got it. Okay,
don't
say anything. So they drive on down the road, and they're like, hey, something's not right. So they circle back, they go over there, and Dennis is gone. And sure enough, they find Mama crammed in the little animal den. So they're like, okay, we got to go to the police. And there's, of course, there's not cell phones then. So they drive to go to the police station. As they're driving down the road, Dennis comes roaring up behind them, starts honking his horn and stuff, and weaving up and getting up on their bumper. And they finally let him go around. They stop.
Sorry.
It'll be a minute. So they let him go around, and they get up the street a little ways, and Dennis is parked on the side of the road, giving them the stink eye. He's got his driver door open, and there's blood dripping down the door jamb. And he goes to the back of the car, and he's changing the license plate off of his car.
Does anybody know yet? Does anyone know?
Suspicious.
Is anybody getting this yet? Okay, so now let's wrap up the story with Depew. So of course, they call the cops. Hey, look, this guy's tried to kill somebody. They go to his house. They find his kids. They find the crime scene and everything, but they don't find Dennis. For a couple of years, I don't remember exactly how long, nobody finds Dennis. So the show Unsolved Mysteries does an episode about the murders. And they play this whole thing out. They're showing this couple driving down the road, and they see him disposing of the body and the whole run-in with him on the road and that kind of stuff. And it just so happens that a guy is watching that show, and he picks up the phone. He calls the police. He says, hey, I don't know about Dennis, but this dude looks just like this guy that's moved in with this lady across the street from me. And so the lady across the street comes home about that time to find Dennis packing his stuff, saying, hey, I've got a death in the family. I've got to go take care of some stuff. Because Dennis watched the show too.
Oh, yeah, because that was huge. I love that show in the 80s.
So Dennis knows what
man.
time it is. So Dennis takes off. The police come, and they see him because the neighbor gave him the tag number. They get into a pursuit with him. And as they stop him, Dennis decides to check himself out permanently. And so the case is solved. They got their man, and he's dead. So this case, back in the early 90s, mid-90s, gets made into a movie, or sort of. And it's a far cry from the original story.
It is.
But the original story is almost note for note the opening sequence of the movie.
Yes. I know what it is.
D'Elle, what is it?
Anybody? No. Anybody?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't know.
It's actually a supernatural story. And as soon as, can I pop a comment up there?
Spit it out. That's it.
Jeepers
That's the one.
That's the one I want to see.
Creepers.
That's the one I haven't seen. My mom's like, you've got to see this movie, and I have yet to see it. Now,
All right,
okay.
so let me tell you something. I loved the original Jeepers Creepers. D'Elle, not so much. She doesn't really like nihilistic movies. So
I really don't. But it was a great character. It was a great movie, and it was the concept is great. I just didn't like. Yeah, I don't like everybody dying at the end.
So
there has to be some happy ending.
So the movie, that's the intro to the movie. Is these kids see the creeper throwing a body down a chute behind a church. They circle back. They find the bodies. They have the little encounter on the highway with the creeper. And then, of course, the rest of the movie is he's chasing them down because, he detects something that he wants. Now, this story doesn't stop here, though. because the true crime connections to Jeepers Creepers continues on. So they come out with Jeepers Creepers 2. Very
It
popular.
says he's from Coldwater, Mississippi.
What?
Local, really?
Oh my God,
We're gonna
that's
have to-
local.
We're
Okay,
gonna have to check that out and make
Yeah.
sure
Don't
that's
give away
fact.
the story.
road trip. Sorry, did we give away too much?
No, let me
Okay.
let me go on though, because the story keeps going from here. So the sequel comes out. The sequel is equally as good. In fact, some people say the sequel is better than the original. I liked both the first and the second one, but then they came out with the third movie, and checking my notes here, sir. The problem is that in between the second movie and the third movie, the internet does what the internet does. And people figure out who the director and the creator of Jeepers Creepers is. Okay.
Oh, he was
So-
a bad guy.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember his full name. Victor Salva was the director. So in between the release of the second and the third movie, or right before the third movie comes out, the internet gets a hold of his record and figures out that Victor Salva is an awful piece of garbage human being. In
Yeah, I heard
1988,
that too.
Victor Salva made a movie called Clown House, which D'Elle and I both watched years ago, and we really liked that movie. The movie got all kinds of acclaim.
We did.
It's about a group of people that escape from a mental institution, and they harass these boys that are trapped in a house. They're all dressed as clowns and stuff because there's a circus in town, and it's a
love
really
clowns.
super creepy movie. The problem was Victor Salva was a pervert, and he got involved in an inappropriate relationship with a 12-year-old boy that was involved in that movie.
Ugh.
Oh.
He was convicted
Yeah.
of the acts with the child, several counts of possession of child pornography, and a bunch of other stuff. And he did, I think, 3 years. 3 years.
Oh.
That's all he
That's
did.
it.
awful.
That's it.
all he
That's
did.
horrid. That's horrid.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
So in between the release of the movies,
Castration.
Uh,
Just saying.
people figured it
Thank
out,
you.
and the movie never saw theatrical release because people said, if you release this movie in a theater, I will never come to your theater again. And so theaters were boycotting the movie. So it was released straight to cable. And I actually refused to go see it anywhere or to pay to see it or whatever. So it came on HBO or something one day, and I watched it, and the movie sucked. It was awful. It was stupid. It didn't make any sense. But of course, the thing is, there's a lot of speculation about the character of the creeper. Everybody wants to know, well, who's the creeper? It's kind of a weird backstory. He comes, to life every 23 years for 23 days and feeds whatever, blah, blah, blah. One of the interesting fan theories runs right along with the whole true crime thing is that the creeper is actually the representation of Victor Salva himself as he sees himself. If you go back to the original movie, it kind of goes against the grain of what normally happens in horror movies. You get a group of characters, and then you have your final girl. She's the one that the bad guy obsesses on, that he chases down, that he gets after, only to find out that he didn't want her. He wanted her brother. The boy ends up being the target of the monster, and spoiler alert, he's the one that ends up getting killed at the end of the movie. The second movie comes along. The entire movie is about a busload of football players on their way to a game when they get stranded in the country, and the creeper stalks them. The first thing he does is he separates out the adults and he kills them so that he can have access to the boys on the bus.
Oh, gross. Ew.
This is truly a life imitate.
Oh, now I don't want to
Absolutely.
see it. Now I don't want to see. I like the
there are
storyline from.
girls. What, Kat?
Oh no, I was like, I like the storyline from. Not, I don't like the storyline, but from the unsolved mysteries, and then how. But now you're like, ooh, like.
Right.
It's getting real gross.
Yeah.
But we get into the second movie. The first thing that happens in the second movie is a little boy out in a cornfield gets abducted and killed by the creeper.
Yes.
And then he's stalking the boys on the bus. There are girls on the bus, but he doesn't do anything to them. The only person he kills that's female is the bus driver, who's a woman. So he had to get rid of the 2 grown-ups that were with
The adults, yeah.
and,
Right.
and the rest of the movie is he's picking off the boys one by one. And there's a scene where there's one that he wants, and he's standing at the back door of the school bus, and he's looking at him through the back window. And the boys are all standing in the aisle, and the creeper just kind of looks at the boy in the front, and he goes, and that boy steps out of the way, and then the kid behind him, he goes, and then he picks the boy that he wants, and he starts licking the glass.
Oh, gross.
So when I started hearing these theories of that
Art
the
imitating
creeper is
life.
how Victor Salva sees himself, I was
That's
like,
gross.
I can absolutely see that man knows who he is, and he has created a great movie monster based on the awful piece of crap that he is.
Oh, gross.
Now there is a 4th movie that's about to come out. It's been taken over by somebody else. So they realize that the franchise is dead if Salva is associated with it.
Yeah.
So there's another group that's coming in, and they're giving it kind of a rebirth kind of thing. And I'm curious to see what it's like, because I really did like the first 2, hated the 3rd one, and I really hope they can do it some justice with the 4th, and that they can save a good character, because, the best characters are the ones that are based in something that we know. That's what we write the best. And he created an absolute monster by taking his own personal proclivities and turning it into a monster.
Lauren, Lauren's
gross.
raising her hand.
Okay, I just have to say, I actually really did not like Jeepers Creepers, and I'll tell you why, though. Everyone told me that, oh my gosh, it is so amazing. There's like this twist ending. You'll never see it coming. And the entire time I was like, because it hinted towards it, I was like, he's going for the kid. He's going for the boy, for his eyes.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, do you not know your Jeepers Creepers? Where'd you get those?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And so the whole time I was like, no, there's got to be like another twist or something. And then it ended up being exactly what I thought it was. And I was like, that wasn't a twist. And I was really disappointed with that, just because it was obvious what was going on. And if you knew the song, who he was going for, because they hinted towards it.
Yeah.
And so I was a little disappointed.
But Lauren, the thing you got to keep in mind is that horror movies are designed for the general audience that doesn't think above a certain level when it comes to that. And so your ability to figure it out simply means that you see things differently. The general masses, they go see a horror movie, they see it's so wrapped up in the plot or the characters or whatever that they miss those subtle little cues, and it allows the story to kind of play out. And then, yeah, it does become a twist. Like, when I saw the movie The Ring, everybody was telling me how creepy this movie is and how horrifying it is. And I watched it and I didn't think anything of it. Yeah, it had some creepy moments, but it wasn't, the scariest thing I'd ever seen, like people were saying. But that's just the way my brain is wired. So kudos to you for being able to catch that. I hate that it ruined what could have been an enjoyable experience. It fell to some cliches and tropes, but it was one of the more original things to come along in a while. But it's absolutely one of those movies that people love it or they hate it, and it's definitely not everybody's thing.
You were mentioning The Ring, and one of the things, this is a little bit off topic, but I do want to say that a lot of times that horror movies that actually just kind of scare you and unnerve you are not necessarily the ones that impact you so much visually, but they play on all of the other things that really just kind of get your hackles up. Like, for instance, as soon as you said The Ring, I was thinking, my brain went to The Grudge.
The Grudge.
I absolutely cannot stand The Grudge. And it's not that it was a terrifying movie. I couldn't stand that sound. And you know what Lauren, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? That
I know. I will do it.
I hated that noise. And watching it on like a small screen didn't bother me as much, but hearing it on the big screen and echoing, I actually was one of those people, just because of like my anxiety levels, and noise is something that does trigger anxiety. Like I can't stand to hear a heartbeat. That will make me very uncomfortable, and it makes me feel like my heart is out of rhythm. It is, I can't stand that. But that was one of those things, when that noise came on, I actually got up and had to walk out of the theater, and I had people laugh at me, and I'm like, you don't understand. I can handle things that you people cannot. And it's just, I can't handle this noise. This noise is unnerving me.
I'll say this. When we went and saw The Grudge in the theater, D'Elle told on herself as far as getting up and leaving the theater. I've never been in a movie before, in a horror movie, where I saw so many people get up and beat feet out of the auditorium to go take a break. And there was probably 20 people watching that movie in the theater that got up and left in a hurry. And it wasn't a bathroom break. I mean, they got up and ran out of the theater because it's such an impactful thing with them. And that was, to me, that was half the fun of watching that movie, was watching the people get up and leave. But,
I've never seen
watching. We should do that some night. Just go like horror movie, watch it, and just like, let's just watch people's reactions and
drive-in. Let's do a drive-in.
Oh my God, I love the drive-in. Yeah.
We do need to do a drive-in night.
We can definitely make that happen.
Hey, speaking of drive-in, there is a, and I know you guys are all familiar with it, but there's a group here in Memphis called Time Warp Theater, or actually, is it Gorilla?
Time Warp Drive-In.
Time Warp Drive-In, who does like the all night, and they have some horror movies coming up probably in October, but there's some pretty interesting lists. We need to do, can we live cast from the drive-in? Just curious.
I mean, my thing can.
If the movie's over, what is it, 50 years old, there's no more royalties to it anymore unless they have created sequels at that point in time, like past that. So if it's like a really old movie, we could probably have the audio and do a live show.
Hey guys, I want to just point out, we're like 18 minutes over, so we are totally at the top of the hour. I want to take a minute and just kind of run through some of the comments if we have a second. Because I do know that there are some very interesting comments in this listing. I'd answer the question, but the answers vary from reality to reality, dimension to dimension. One thing for certain, it didn't involve a hydrogen bomb.
Okay, so I think he's answering the group participation question.
I think so too. Eli's an interesting person. People shipped kids all over during the Great Depression. It became a normal thing for decades. Okay. Ew. Rush, she went to She went to meet someone she met on the internet. That has to become a movie. Oh, yeah. Okay, people are going to be talking about you, Lauren. They're going to be like, don't you watch horror movies? Don't you know how that goes?
I guess she's tired of talking about him and wants to be one. So.
Yeah, but Lauren's going to be the killer. Don't you know that?
Yeah, the surprise is going to be on the person who she meets, not the other way around. Like, they thought they lured her into their trap. Little did they know.
Found out the hard way.
Uh-huh.
So, I see on here also Carlin made a comment. A horror film cabin is probably how I will get a lake cabin. I'll have to sharpen my knives. Oh, rock on, Carlin. Rock on. We're going to come with you. We're going to bring knives and machetes. We don't know who the killer is yet, but I can assure you at least 3 ladies are getting out there and getting out alive, right? So,
yep.
Yeah. All right. So we are totally at the top of the hour. I want to say thank you to Geek Gumshoe.
Yes. Thank you.
Coming on and joining us. Also,
thank you.
Always want to say thank you to Back of the Cereal Box and Johnny for hosting us and allowing us to do these things. And this is a lot of fun. And of course, tonight we did Miss Magda, and we hope to see her next time. Hey, our next show is coming up on June the 13th. So it's actually kind of a 3-week gap for us. So, because we basically air our show every second and fourth Sunday of the month. So tune in for that. That one should be interesting as well. We're going to be talking about music, the music industry, myths, horror, like I can't even talk tonight. Myths, legend, curses, and all that kind of stuff. And I have some interesting. We at least have one interesting guest already on the docket, and he was a former DJ here in Memphis during the heyday of Rock 103. So, and he's got some interesting stories. But we are always looking for sponsors because, by God, we are still poor and we still need help. Please, please. Sponsor our tickets.
Please sponsor so I don't have to film for my car anymore.
But yes. So I hope you love it. Share it with all your friends and talk us up and sponsor us and help us out and keep us going. And until next time, pleasant screams.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.